we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. On infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections.
If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious.
Violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs, hurting businesses, and burning down buildings. Remember, they are coming after me because I am fighting for you. That's what's happening.
Greetings, fellow thought criminals, and thank you for joining the insurrection. I'm Michael Lauber, and today I'm joined by Kelly Walker from Real Freedom Talk magazine. How you doing this morning, Kelly?
Hey, good, Michael. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. And if you guys aren't already subscribed to Real Freedom Talk, you should be. We're just going to go ahead and jump right into it this morning because looks like we might be ready to move on from Iran to Cuba. Not that things are totally wrapped up in Iran, but breaking news, communist dictator of Cuba, Raul Castro, indicted for murder of U.S. citizens by Trump Justice Department. We're hearing rumors that they may do a Venezuela-type capture. I'm not really sure if there's any substance to those because, like always, it's anonymous sources. But it really seemed like we were kind of lined up for a peaceful transition there in Cuba. Hopefully it can stay that way, that we don't need to deploy anybody out there or capture anybody or bomb anything. I mean, the people of Cuba have been marching in the streets. They burned down the Communist Party headquarters. They are ready for a revolution. They want their freedom back. They're tired of living under this oppression. You know, they want the same things that we have. They're essentially starving to death over there. They're still driving cars from the 1950s. Right now, they have no fuel. I heard from Nick Shirley that gas over there is the equivalent of $40 per gallon right now. We got Prayajayapal, who should be prosecuted for treason, trying to line up oil shipments and other supplies into Cuba. But, you know, hopefully we don't have a boots on the ground type military operation or even having to go in. I think we can push them over the edge peacefully. A lot of their government already sees the writing on the wall, even if the surviving Castro brother doesn't. But I do think freeing the Cuban people would be in our interest. We can't have this ally of our enemies 90 miles off our coast. But at the same time, I don't really want a military operation there either if it can be avoided in any way.
Yeah, I just have to say it's Justin Trudeau's uncle there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
Cuba has been a thorn in our side, obviously, going back to the Cuban Missile Crisis. I forget which year in the 60s, but it is really, really close to the continental U.S. to have a communist country there. So I also know a lot of Cubans, Puerto Ricans, and others, and of course, Puerto Rico's part of the United States, but people who immigrated there from Cuba and such who have just had it with communism, had it with Marxism. They're desperate. We have a lot of Hispanics that are conservatives because of that.
Oh, yeah.
But what we do about it, I don't know. I mean, we can put pressure. It's, I guess, up to the White House to figure out how to deal with this. I guess the strategy is to take out threats around the world to our sovereignty. It's going to bear a lot of discussion to figure this one out.
Yeah, and I do think Cuba is a little different than some of the other countries. Like you said, they have been a thorn in our side for a long time, and this does seem more like an operation that we can pull off peacefully. And Raul Castro is I can't remember if he's 93 or 96 years old. I think it's 96 years old. But he again, it's really his brother that was the bigger problem for us. It's Fidel Castro, but this warrants in response to a shoot down of two American planes back in, oh man, I can't remember what year it was now, but it's something that it's been out there for decades. It it doesn't really seem like. I know. I guess to me, I mean, again, I guess it is justified. He did kill these American citizens that were former Cuban nationals that were down there for a rescue operation. Shot them down over international waters. But at the same time, like again, if it's really about ending the communist regime, the dictatorship that's down there, that right now there's other methods to do that. Again, like I said earlier, they've already burned down the Communist Party headquarters down there. The people want their freedom. There's a massive underground movement there, subverting their like technology. Like they actually broadcast internet access over there, over the island, so that people can get it. They have the right transponders or right I don't know, devices to pick it up. But yeah, I hopefully a military operation like this can be avoided and we can have a peaceful transition. If we can't, it probably is worth it in the long run for us to eliminate this threat right off our coast. Because the big thing is, China, potentially Russia, and other countries using them as a forward operating base. We know that China has been sending people over there and building things just off off our coast, listening devices and running other operations there. Not to mention, we have Guantanamo Bay still down there too. But yeah, again, I don't want a big military operation. I think that's out of alignment with what Trump ran on, with why a lot of us voted for him. So hopefully that can be avoided.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have obviously huge in the news, this weaponization working fund. And it seems like everybody now is trying to throw their hat in the ring. Ridiculously, look, I like Turning Point USA. I feel bad about what happened to Charlie, but ridiculously, a certain influencer went out, and I think maybe he took it down, but basically said, "Oh, some of this money should go to the Erica Kirk estate," and people just started excoriating him, like, "No way, they're fine, they're fine." Like, we have people right now in the United States, J6, targeted parents, others who are not making it. That includes my family. We're struggling mightily, and we have been for years. And Michael Castellero, who you just had on, I've been communicating with him. He just got a 10-year sentence for lawfare, political lawfare, with a year added because he spoke out to the social media he didn't even have a gag order. So, concerns like this, this should come before Cuba. And it's not that we can't walk and chew gum at the same time.
Yeah.
But we have to help. And look, here's the thing. I just, my platform's relatively small, but I know everybody. I talk to everybody. This whole assertion, because apparently there's two cops from J6 who are trying to sue and hold this up. Their assertion is, well, this is a MAGA slush fund. Well, I have news for them. The targeted parents who are also in the executive order that the DOJ is supposed to repair that damage they did. We have Democrats and even a self-described progressive on that list. So it's absolutely not only for conservatives or Republicans. Largely, mostly, yeah, predominantly. And that's because Merrick Garland and Joe Biden went after conservatives. But believe me, there were others caught up in it. And I like to say it's good people that were targeted. So I would be all for Cuba. I'm fluent in Spanish. I have studied cultures quite a bit. I have a huge amount of compassion for the people of Spanish-speaking countries, compassion and passion for the language and culture. So I hope it happens. But again, if we're America first, let's bind up the wounded in our own country. Like,
yes.
We fostered a little boy while his mother, Felicia Conold, was in prison for simply walking around the Capitol. And in fact, you should have Felicia on your show sometime. That'd be fantastic.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. Well, you're exactly right, and I think this is kind of where part of this divide is especially younger voters. They're tired of all this international action. They want to focus on things here at home. We're going to get into a couple other stories later today. Hopefully, we have time for all of them. But especially AI and some of these other things are really causing a rift with younger voters. I'm sure you probably saw some of these videos from high school and college graduations over the weekend where they had prominent speakers there to discuss AI in the future, and they were getting booed, I mean, booed off the stage in in some points. Not to mention some of these other stories we've covered where these AI data centers in Georgia drank up all the water in a small town.
Yeah,
They have got no water pressure.
it's
You
terrible. Yeah, and we're supposed to pay for that when we
yeah
have trouble paying for groceries and gas. And look, I'm not saying that the J6 and the targeted parents, victims of lawfare, are the only people that are suffering, because there are a lot of people who are struggling. But when you have the added pressure and devastation of having the federal government completely destroy your life, your reputation, your clean record, that's just a level that where they need to come back and fix that and restore these people to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Because we should have just the average challenges that everybody has of finding gainful employment, raising families. But really, what they did was they cut a lot of us off at the knees,
yeah
and that needs to be taken care of. But that being said, yeah, I was just talking to my wife last night saying, I have to use AI now because uh, I have to have a new level of productivity. I use it like an assistant. I don't have it do my thinking for me.
yeah
But a lot of my freelance, because a great deal of my freelance has been writing for the Epic Times, for other organizations. A lot of it's gone now because they
yeah
have AI write the drafts for them. And what I'll get sometimes is, hey, would you clean up this draft? So instead of spending, 2, 3, 4 hours writing something, now it's 15 minutes to clean up a draft. And I've just seen articles too where all the articles, the journals, everything out there, they're becoming contaminated now because
yeah
this is like this is junk. If you use AI to maybe look over your document, suggest changes, help you with the wording like you would an editor, that's fine. But too many people now are actually having AI write it and then cleaning up the slop, and it's terrible. And if you're a professional writer like me, you can tell. So,
yeah
but none of us asked for this, Mike. None of us asked for this. We don't want to be working for AI, which is the situation now. Like we are kind of becoming editors to AI instead of the reverse, and that's
yes.
not good at all.
Well, yeah, it's driving the new marketplace now, especially again with creative people. Like, I really try to avoid it. Like, I just found out something else the other day. Now, Google actually did away with their engine quietly just a few days
Yeah,
ago.
I heard that
Now,
too.
all search results are AI driven, and it does give you to slop junk a lot of the time if you don't look through it carefully. It hallucinates or just makes things up or frames things politically, which is one of the big problems. There's the story about it. Google swapping out aerial images in California to before the fire, so it doesn't, highlight all the damage that was done by Karen Bass and her group by lack of preparedness. Not to mention, by the way, all the water reservoirs are empty over there again right now. How the heck did that happen? And here we are back in fire season.
Yeah, I
Um,
know some people from Tucson have reached out to me and said, because we moved to Tennessee from Tucson. They're saying these huge projects are going in. It's a desert here. They're going to use up all the water. They want us to pay for it.
yep,
It's completely crooked. She actually sees connections between the targeting of school parents and other conservatives, that because we've stood in the way of projects like this, that's ongoing, that continues. And you know that I'm building Freedom Talk magazine. I get ads. We have a free version and a paid version for $50 a month. It helps a little, but it doesn't fully support my family. We've had we had a couple months ago where we made enough to pay all the bills. But other than that, we rely on freelance. And just yesterday,
yeah,
Michael, I don't think I've even told you this. One of my most steady clients for the last 5 years said, Kelly, we love your work. You do great work, but we're taking it in house. And I know that's because I'm being replaced by AI. So they
yeah,
can just have some copy editor clean it up, and it's devastating. I mean, that's one less avenue that we have to recover from
yeah.
having Merrick Garland's DOJ completely destroy our finances, our house, our savings, everything. So you talk about Cuba, that's fine, that's good. I want it to happen, but we have some big problems to solve
Yeah.
right here in the USA.
Yeah, and the other question that people are asking regarding Cuba is if we do go in there and liberate Cuba, who's next? Who's next on the agenda? Because that's kind of what we're seeing. Again, Venezuela, I can totally understand. I have no problem with an hour and 45-minute military operation to go get this 10-pot dictator, pull him out of
Well,
Venezuela,
particularly
and
since
end the fentanyl stream into the United States, and
and the
get
election.
him for any information on the elections.
Yeah,
Uh,
because Smartmatic and such come out of Venezuela. So,
yeah,
and a lot of people don't even realize but having worked for Mike Lindell, working in election integrity, look, the trail's there, the facts are there, and
yes,
the media and the machine election companies are going to try to obscure it and attack anybody like Mike Lindell, like Tina Peters, who reveal the truth. So
yep,
there's more than Venezuela to going down and saying we want their oil or we don't like
yeah,
their dictator. But here's something. How about before we liberate Cuba, we liberate New York? I mean, we've got
yes.
a
Well,
communist
honestly,
running our largest city right within the U.S.
well.
Frankly, uh, some have said, and I'm not a lawyer, but apparently there's still a law in the books that being a
Yep.
member of the Communist Party is illegal in this country.
Yep, that is still in the books from the 64 civil rights legislation. By the way, you're allowed to discriminate against communists. That is lawful. But yeah, you're right. And this is kind of the point I was trying to get to a minute ago is when are we going to liberate the United States? I mean, that's the
Well,
bigger problem.
yeah,
Honestly, like New York, I'm a lot less concerned about. They chose their path, and I honestly feel like a lot of these blue states need to suffer the consequences for their actions, or they're just never going to learn. If we go in and bail them out, or we remove Mamdani through the courts or some other way, then they aren't going to learn. They're also going to look at this as, well, we interrupted it. You know, we stopped what they wanted. We circumvented the will of the people, and they wouldn't be totally wrong there. So,
this is going to blow your mind and the mind of your listeners. Communism is the most murderous, democidal meaning dem people, murdering your own people,
yeah,
ideologies, form of government that's ever existed. If you took everyone that's been killed, Pol Pot's Cambodia, China, Soviet Union, and you lined them up head to toe, average person's height, that line, I have these figures somewhere. I've actually written about it, and I believe it's that line would go circle the earth 5 times, head to toe, 5 times.
sounds
And
about
it would
right.
be the same amount of people as if you had over decades of time a global nuclear war. That's how many is killed. And so I'm sorry, little woke nitwits coming forward and saying, oh, well, but they just haven't done it right. It's been tried so many places. That doesn't do enough for me to say, well, we didn't do it right. Our IEDs blew off legs, but that's because we weren't doing it right. Come on. We have to take a hard stand on communism. And I'm starting to think Joseph McCarthy in those days, maybe he was right. Maybe he went overboard, but maybe he was right.
Well, sort of interesting you bring that up. Are you familiar with Verona cables, where a lot of his information came from? He actually was right about a lot of the Hollywood celebrities and others being tied to communism, but Congress blocked the information from being released until the late 1990s or early 2000s. I don't remember which. But you can read through a lot of the allegations that they were saying were false or overreach, or he was just making things up. They were all true. He knew it and he had the information, but they kept things classified to make him look like he was a maniac, and it was the Red Scare, and he was going after a bunch of people that weren't involved in anything. In reality, almost all of them were. There are very few people they were investigating that he didn't find ties to this to the Soviets from. But again, that's kind of erased from history. The truth doesn't really matter. It's the narrative. It's McCarthyism and whatever. But it turned out McCarthy was right. And again, he knew because he had this information from our intel agencies and others, intel and law enforcement here, but it was kept classified. So there is something to that. And as we've seen the CCP influence here in the United States, we just had Hillary Clinton say, well, if Russia's funding Trump and the Republicans, then maybe the Democrats need to reach out to China and they can be our benefactor. Again, I think that crosses the line into sedition, reach out to America's enemies and ask for help. And again, it doesn't get treated the same way. I mean, all this Russia collusion stuff was nonsense. You have literally her coming out here and stating this. Now she's going to say, I was just trying to make a point. But again, same with Priya Jayapal. We need to actually prosecute these things. And again, that's the big thing a lot of Americans are upset about right now is it goes back to our original point. When are we going to liberate America? When are we actually going to take down the deep state? When are we going to go after the Epstein class? When are we going to stop protecting them? These are the problems on the ground here. And again, I think it's ultimately going to be a good thing if we're able to liberate Cuba, but we've got to start focusing here at home on America. We've got a lot of problems coming. There's another wave of economic problems potentially that's getting ready to hit too. Hopefully, we have time to get to that as well. But we've all this debt. We've been reliant on selling off U.S. Treasuries, and now we're getting to the point where that's not a possibility anymore. And a lot of the biggest holders of the U.S. debt, China and Japan specifically, are now selling it off because the world's economy is not in good shape.
And I've been a very vocal critic of Todd Blanche as he's been running the DOJ. Dan Bongino said that the DAG runs the DOJ, so we know that. And Pam Bondi was a figurehead. Nothing was done for a year. We're now approaching 17 months. We have this settlement, which I appreciate Donald Trump doing, but it's chaos right now. They're going to have 5 people deciding thousands of applications. How long is that going to take? They don't have this commission set up. Nobody knows. Everybody's freaking out because nobody knows who's going to get what. But I want to be fair, and I've started to say, Todd Blanche, we appreciate what's been done for so far. It's a good start. However, there's no accountability there. It's in executive orders and other places that they're supposed to investigate and get rid of people within the DOJ who did these things. Many we know names of people who are still in that place who prosecuted good patriots, falsely prosecuted them. So there's no accountability. There's no transparency. The DOJ got very angry with me, believe me, because I sat in a meeting with Todd Blanche's senior attorney. Yeah, and said to me to my face that parents we don't negotiate with terrorists. There'll be no federal remedy. If you want your life back, you're going to have to sue. So then they turn around and say, oh, well, we had this plan all along, and Kelly should have never said those things. And so we have this spitefulness. But hey, think about it. When your life has been destroyed because for standing up and exercising your First Amendment rights, you're treated so badly, and then the people that are working in the Trump administration use that label again. It's pretty reasonable to have a real problem with that, and and then hiding it and trying to cover it up only eroded that trust. So I'm coming forward and saying, for all these American people that you harmed, you need to be accountable to it. You need to be transparent. And here's what happens if Merrick Garland on down, these people that sit in the DOJ, they are the deep state. And we've seen John Brennan and James Comey say, yeah, we're still in control. We still have operatives. Those are the people. So Todd Blanche needs to be pushed on this. Get the hell rid of those people. And I talked to James O'Keefe personally for 3 hours. He said, Kelly, what do you think's going on? I said, well, I think it's just like the FBI sting you did where the agent said the plan is to wait out Donald Trump. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're waiting out Donald Trump. I spoke to Serena from, is it Right Side Rebels?
Right Side Rebels, her name on X.
Yep. We talked for about an hour and a half yesterday. And even she goes out and does street reporting. And even as in the know as she is, particularly with J6, she hadn't heard these things. She didn't know them. And I said, look, this is not fringe theory. I'm a trained scientist, journalist, researcher. I back everything up. This is a fact. This is what's happening right in front of our faces. So a lot of people are starting to say, hey, these funds, we need them. We need them because Felicia Conold, her life is very, very hard. Yeah, she got a pardon, but she still has a felony on the record. And when people find out she's J6, they just let her go. So so that helps. But where's the other part of this? It's in Executive Order 14147, ending the weaponization of the federal government. There's supposed to be a special prosecutor, inspector general. These people need to be out. So what people are seeing this as is, first of all, $1.776 billion sounds like a lot, but when you divide that by thousands, it's not a lot at all, considering that some people have had millions of dollars in legal fees. And then what they're starting to see it as is, hey, we're going to be paid off to go away and shut up. But accountability has to be a part of that. It does.
Well, yeah. And that's one of the real dangers. Is it going to be just sign this slip, shut your mouth, and whatever, here's a little bit of money, not to mention, again, how much of this is going to get burned up in administrative costs before it's even handed off to the victims of the federal government. And it does go beyond just the monetary compensation. There's nothing you can do to fix your reputation at this point. If you're associated with January 6th or school board parents or any number of other things, it's going to affect you. Not to mention all the debanking that happened. We brought this up numerous times. Derek is still can't get credit through a number of organizations and institutions that he used to rely on for his business. So he's had to go in a totally different direction. He used to, remodel and flip houses. That's all gone because he can't get credit anymore. And he's already wiped out his savings fighting the charge from January 6th. But yeah, let's jump to our next topic, though. So we're not on this for half the show again.
Bring me on, we always digress, right?
Yeah. Dirty Senate rhinos turn on Trump, may block his midterm agenda after he endorses Ken Paxton over rhino clown John Cornyn. And this is, again, why we should have been fighting this battle against rhinos leading up to this midterm. I know in some states they've done a good job finding alternative candidates, pushing them, ousting some of these undocumented Democrats masquerading as Republicans. But this is the consequences of us not doing that. This is the consequence of some of the other crappy Trump endorsements like Lindsey Graham, Lady Grahamnesty, and other rhinos, Mike Lawler up in New York. This guy is an open border amnesty guy. He co-sponsored the Dignidad Act, passed that, but for some reason we're giving him support. Well, this is the consequences of that now. Now you have these Senate rhinos threatening to form a coalition and block the agenda that the Trump agenda is what all of us voted for. That is completely shutting down the border, mass deportations, and justice, which they seem to have forgot about. But these are things that need to happen. And now we've got the Senate openly saying they're going to stand in the way of that. And again, they're already spending, we talked about this yesterday, but I think it's $60 million that they've dumped in so far, the Senate campaign fund, into John Cornyn's race down there to try to prevent Ken Paxton from winning. This is all money that could have better been spent elsewhere. But they're going to keep their rhinos. That's who they want. And we have to do something. And Thune has control of that. Thune is apparently irate about this endorsement. Now he's threatening I don't know how he can block the SAVE Act more than he already has. But again, just stalling the agenda. And that's the problem, is these people are out of sync with reality and out of sync with where the Republican Party is now.
Yeah, well, this is very interesting, too, because I think Serena didn't know this either, that the Senate, as a condition for reopening the government, gave themselves special privileges to sue for a minimum of $500,000 per Arctic Frost violation, even though unanimously, that never happens, unanimously the House of Representatives voted against it. Somehow Lindsey Graham and John Thune pushed it through. None of us get that, none of us get that provision. So that, that again is self-dealing. Lindsey Graham stands to make millions and millions of dollars.
Yes.
And it's the uniparty. It's, we're the important people. When it affects us as legislators, then it becomes important. But all these people who held the line so that Trump could get into office, they don't get those special perks and privileges. Frankly, it's a huge violation of the 14th Amendment.
Yes.
And so, and rhinos are a huge problem. Everybody can't stand them. I would like to see Trump somehow get better information, because he has backed rhinos before.
Oh yeah, well, that's been an ongoing problem.
And Paxton, though.
Yeah, well, I am glad he endorsed Paxton. I think that's something that needed to happen anyway. And I do think Trump was more or less trying to play that one a little more strategically, especially after Paxton said, well, he would drop out if they passed the SAVE Act. I mean, they both knew that wasn't going to happen. But it was a good way to put pressure on there and maybe hopefully get it across somehow. But yeah, I mean, again, you're correct. They are always giving themselves special privileges. Again, this is already unlawful, as we've pointed out. You're supposed to have equal protection under the law. Now, I did have somebody point out that, like, if you're in a elected or appointed government position, I guess there's some provisions that could prevent them from suing. Now, if this was just to remove those in this case, not give them a special advantage, that the minimum payout of $500,000 per incident, and as you and I were discussing on the phone the other day, a lot of people don't understand that. Some of these people in Arctic frost, there might be 40 plus incidents where they were illicitly spied on. And then again, I don't want to I'm not trying to justify at all what the Biden regime did. That's not the point. But 40 incidents, that's $20 million right off the bat, and that would be the minimum that they could receive for this. And everybody knows it's going to be basically a rubber stamp on whatever claim they make, so that they can get paid. And this is the kind of stuff we're sick of. But once again, to go back to the point of this article and point of this story, is these rhinos are still blocking what we voted for as the American people. They are standing in our way, and I something has to be done about it. We really dropped the ball, I think, and I think a lot of us didn't really see this coming the way we should have. But these midterms, it should have been rhino hunting season. So we need to make sure in 2028 that we are destroying these people. We need to target them in their districts. We need to find good candidates that can run against them, and we need to start hammering them really now or right after this election. Like, no downtime, no anything. We have to start destroying these people, remove them from the Republican Party, and take our power back.
Because they thwarted the Trump agenda.
Yes.
It's mind-numbingly atrocious that they are trying to block the SAVE Act, that they're against term limits, that they're fighting to be able to have insider trading privileges, and now they're profiting off the suffering of victims of weaponization to enrich themselves. Hey, that's a pretty sweet deal, But this is what motivates the rhinos: is they have their little kingdom. They want to keep control of everything. But the MAGA movement, and frankly, the MAGA movement should include people from all parties, because it's a populist movement. It's decent people saying, we are supposed to be running this government. It's supposed to be accountable to us. It is so far broken.
Yeah. Let's be real. You're not going to get any Democrat politicians joining the MAGA movement, even if you get some Democrats converting over.
We already have. We've got Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr. We've got a lot of people,
but they all leave the party.
So they do, and it's not like they stay Democrats. But look at Lurch. What is his name again? John
Fetterman.
Fetterman. That guy's got common sense. We're all just waiting for him at least to change to independent, because he actually thinks he's actually honest a lot of the time. So,
the problem is, like, he's still a wackaloon on a lot of issues.
I get that.
Yeah. We don't want to expand the tent to the point where it collapses, and that's the issue.
Well, and I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm just saying that, like,
take the votes here and there where we can get them, but
decent people need to stand together. It used to be, Mike, you probably remember this. You're a lot younger than me, but I remember, like, the days when Reagan and Tip O'Neill would fight like cats and dogs and then go have a beer together. The differences were there, but they weren't anything like they are today, because the left, the Democrat Party has gone so far left, the communists, there's no common ground. But there are still people in between who are more like those classical liberals. And I think
the blue dog Democrats.
What I like about Fetterman is that on a lot of issues, he will use common sense, and we disagree on a lot of things. I'm not saying we just, sing kumbaya, but he's actually gone against the party, and I can respect that, because that's more like what we saw for most of the time I've been alive.
Well, yeah, because to your point, people used to come together on things, especially when it was a direct effect on Americans. Like, I remember Tip O'Neill and Reagan, after the Pan Am 103 bombing, coming together, or after, the Challenger disaster, other things or Grenada is another perfect example. Actually, that's the one I sort of vaguely remember from when I was a kid. I was pretty young during Grenada, but I've seen the videos that there were American hostage students that needed rescue. They're on the stage together. They do the right thing. They put down their differences, and they did what was best for America. But we don't see that in the Democrat Party anymore. Largely, Fetterman's about the only one. I can't think of anybody else that's still in elected office that's that way. And most of the other ones have been pushed out of the Democrat Party. They've gone so far insane that I don't think there's really anything left. But the problem is the Republicans aren't doing what the voters want either. So there's dissatisfaction there.
They're kind of worse. Like one of the targeted parents said. He said, it's almost worse now, because at least I didn't expect the Biden administration to do the right thing. But Mike, ask me why I'm smiling.
Why are you smiling? What happened?
Because this all makes me think about one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. You've probably seen it. When Chris Farley went on the House floor to be Newt Gingrich. Have you seen that? That is
Uh,
the funniest thing you'll ever watch. I mean,
I don't remember that one offhand, but I will look it up.
okay, I'm going to find that and send it to you because it is.
Yeah.
A moment of levity is, but this, the fact that a Saturday Night Live comedian would dress up as Tip O'Neill, I'm sorry, not Tip O'Neill, but Newt Gingrich, and not do it out of rancor or to parody him, but all in good fun. I miss those days. I really do.
Well, yeah, they did used to, I mean, they always hit the right more, but they did used to hit the left too. I remember some of the other Saturday Night Live skits from when that was actually a comedy show back in the 90s and early 2000s, before they had the writer swap and Tina, what's her name? Tina Fey took over and I plunged downhill. But yeah, it's a shame we can't get back to that where they used to just swing at both sides, like Jay Leno and even what's his name? Kind of the Johnny Carson. He punched at both sides. But when it came time to say something nice, like I saw recently somebody posted what he said after Reagan was shot, and it was, again, really impressive. Back to when America was America. And we got to get back to that. It's part of why we've got to solve this problem with illegal aliens, the invasion, and what else, and everything else that's going on. Rep. Nancy Mace proposes constitutional amendment to ban foreign-born citizens from Congress. And honestly, it's something I've gone back and forth on because I think there are people like Annie Cyrus and many others that really understand what we have in America even better than some Americans because they came from something so much worse. But unfortunately, especially when it gets to high level of office, we have a major problem. Like, obviously, everybody knows Ilhan Omar, she said it herself, is there to represent Somalia. A lot of these other foreign-born, Priya Jayapal and others are not there serving the American people. And unfortunately, even some of them on our side, as we just learned with Pratt's, was it Victoria Pratt's? She was hiring illegal aliens to work in her office. She's a Republican. We ought to deport her ass too. Denaturalize her, send her out of the country. If you're here and you're breaking the law and you're hiring foreign nationals to do a job, you gotta go.
If you deport the ass, the body will follow. Yep. And the right's going to catch heat for this, but really, this is the fault of people like Ilhan Omar and this just Muslim obsession taking over the U.S. and destroying our culture. So if people get upset about a provision like this, it's based on need and the situation where these people are actively working against the United States. And it used to be, people would come here, they'd become American, they'd learn our civic history. They were so proud to be Americans. But honestly, again, of course the left's going to lash out at Nancy Mace and others, but it's on their plate because, the Leering centers, the Somali daycare fraud, the Islamists hating on this country, very, very anti-Semitic in a visceral way, not just saying, critiquing Israel, but we need to push this back on the left and not put up with this nonsense. And maybe it's for a time, or maybe you screen people and, find out. But right now, I think a moratorium on anyone running for the highest offices in the land, you have to be a natural born citizen. I completely agree with this. I think it's unfortunate. I think it's going to deny some people some opportunities. But Ilhan Omar, the squad, Rashida Tlaib, it's their doing. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it's become clear that they are anti-American. I mean, honestly, we probably ought to just ban the Democrat Party because they're anti-American, but I don't think we'd be able to get that one to fly.
We ought to just start calling them the Communist Party because that's what they are.
Pretty much, and everybody knows it. Revealed birth tourism facilities for foreign moms prosper in Houston. This is something we covered recently with this other operation out in California. But again, it's happening even in red states, and this is something that there needs to be an outright ban on it. Hopefully Supreme Court rules the right way and they end birthright citizenship. Because again, like the intention of the law was never what it was being used for today. Previously, it wasn't even enforced that way. There's a Supreme Court case with the child of a diplomat that was born here in the U.S. that they already had ruled. He's not a U.S. citizen. He was a foreign national. He was here, or the parents were here because they were serving in a diplomatic role, and therefore the child was still a citizen of, I don't remember whatever country it was from. But we have to go back to this. We have to end. Again, the Constitution is meant to protect the people, not be a suicide pact. You don't get to, break in, jump across the border, or have a tourist delivery here, drop a kid on U.S. soil, and then you can apply for benefits. You can go back to China or wherever else. A lot of these abuses are from China, and continue to receive American welfare benefits and everything else. Then when the kid's 18, guess what? They can come here and use our system, do whatever they want, go to our schools. And again, this is clearly being abused. It's not supposed to be a suicide pact. We got to do away with this.
And I'm bilingual. I speak a smattering of others like French. I speak English and Spanish. I love culture. I love language. But there's something so insidious happening here. It's beyond just saying, hey, I want to be a part of the American dream. I'm going to apply to come in. It's an absolute invasion, and it's a very purposeful. CCP and others are behind it. World Economic Forum. It's a very purposeful. And Islam, they're all in bed together.
Yeah.
Agenda to replace us culturally, to replace our heritage. So you can have people talking about white genocide, blacks are everybody's better than whites. We need to be apologetic and kneel and apologize for everything. And then when they do that, it's like an abusive spouse. They push you to the point where you finally snap, and then they say, look, see how bad that person is. So we do have people who have reacted to this by saying, hey, I'm white, I have pride in that, I'm proud of that, and that does get into dangerous territory. We shouldn't have those divides at all, but in one sense, the other side's been doing this for a long time, but we're allowing anyone in. We're not deporting people who are here illegally as much as we started, and that we'd like, and we are being replaced. Our Western civilization, which by the way isn't just white people, it's the whole Anglosphere. I spent a year in Sri Lanka. Everybody there speaks English because the British built infrastructure and were there for so long. So really, it's an attack against Western civilization. I'd like people not to focus so much on race and the color of your skin, but it's understandable. So they come out and criticize people for being proud of their own heritage and history. And then, of course, Southern Poverty Law Center, it turns out, has stoked the fires of that, funded the KKK and others. So, it's time for people to stand up for Western culture. That's what Freedom Talk Magazine is all about. We're trying to re-educate people, bring that back. Our May issue, which I'm later than I want to be on it because I'm waiting for a cover from a contributing artist, but it's on the power of music and culture. I'm sorry, the power of music and entertainment to transform culture. It's very, very, very important. I hope you'll all go to realfreedomtalk.com. I should have it out hopefully by tomorrow. It's almost all done. And preserving our culture is so very important. I just get concerned that because of the evil and the lack of scruples of the other side, that it could push us to not be who we are, to react in a way that we're acting out of provocation rather than being truly great and a city on a hill.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've got to do something, though. All these abuses have to end. And, I really don't care what it takes to get the problem fixed at this point. We certainly need mass deportations. Everyone that's here illegally has got to go. We need to correct these laws to end birthright citizenship and other things that people are taking advantage of. Again, this was never the intention of the constitutional amendment when it was passed. It was protect former slaves from further abuse, and everybody knows that. The left pretends it's something other than what it is. It's this lawyering mentality that they have, and it's got to end. We've got to actually protect our interests, protect our borders, protect our language, our culture. If we want to preserve this country going forward, we cannot allow this continued. We're no longer a melting pot. We have to get back to that mentality. We probably need a moratorium on all immigration for 10 to 20 years because we have to have assimilation. And if you're here and you're refusing to assimilate, sorry, you got to go back home. This is not the place for you.
Yeah, and honestly, no one should be able to swear in on a Quran or anything else, and it's not because of religious intoleration or domination. But I've been in the DOJ library, and there's a rotunda with all these lawmakers. Among them is Moses. I mean, beyond theological implications, the Bible, the Ten Commandments, some of the principles in there are a foundation of our law. And that's why Islam, at least some Islamists, would like to come in and replace it with Sharia law. So we can't have that. Nobody's going to be compelled to be a Christian, I hope. But you cannot come in and replace an entire legal system, the philosophical underpinnings of a country, and say that that's okay, because that in itself is bigotry and religious intoleration. And by the way, separation of church and state, I don't want this country to become a theocracy, but that's a principle, not a law. That's based on a letter that Thomas Jefferson wrote.
Correct.
It's a principle, it's a concept. People pull that out all the time, and it drives me nuts
Well,
because it's
and
an
even
opinion.
he said it was only at the federal level. If states wanted to have
Yeah.
religious laws, they were allowed to. So,
Yeah,
you
if
know,
you
of
want
course,
to
the
have
left
a yeah.
always forgets that. But honestly, that's too. This is again where we need to get aggressive. We do need to ban Sharia law nationally. It should already be because it's in violation of U.S. law, and you can't have
It's a
foreign
competing
law
legal system. Yeah.
exactly superseding U.S. law. But I think we need to take it a step further. We need to be the aggressor. We need to make things difficult for people like this that are here. So ban halal meat. We can use the animal rights activists to help with that because it's a cruel way to slaughter these animals. So ban it. They'll leave. If all of a sudden you got to be a vegetarian if you want to be here and still be compliant with Sharia and be a good Muslim, if we ban halal meat, so let's do it. We already see what's happening in all of Europe right now. I mean, they're right now trying to get the Muslims in the UK are trying to get the UK hospitals to ban all pork and force them to serve halal meat. And that's also because it benefits them financially. These halal butchers have to send, I think it's 10% of the revenue for the jihad. So again, you guys want to fight? Then let's fight. And let's solve this problem once and for all. And we can go back to actually making the country great again.
Well, then you have religious compulsion, and you know, Islam means submission. It's part and parcel of that religion to compel people to religion. Anybody who doesn't do that isn't being faithful to the Quran.
Yep.
And you start getting people, Christians and others, Jews. You know, in the case of Iraqis, some of them are Ahura Mazda, Zoroastrians. They're all
Yeah.
now compelled. They have laws made by the will of the majority that denies them their civil rights. Now it's not only the only thing available to you is halal meats. Now we have laws that you can't have anything else. It's completely backward, and we've gone from tolerance to enabling the loss of our own freedoms and
Well, in a lot of cases, making it mandatory.
What's that?
In a lot of cases, making it mandatory. I mean, it's a step too far. Trump executive order demands banks consider immigration status before issuing credit. This is something that should have been done a long time ago. And this is something else where, again, we've got a lot of rhinos and other people pushing back on deportations because, you know, a lot of these people bought homes while they were here. And this will really hurt the banks if all of a sudden all these mortgages aren't paid. Well, too bad. I mean, you guys, knew what you're getting into. You guys knew you were supplying loans to illegals, people that could possibly be deported. I don't care if it does make Bank of America go under, but it isn't just there. It's the credit cards and everything else. I mean, you've probably seen some of these videos from Chinese college students here that are saying, yeah, I did my part for the CCP. I took out $100,000 in credit card debt. Now I'm flying back to China and I'm just going to give them the finger and not pay any of this. I mean, it's economic warfare. So whether you're a foreign national or an illegal alien, whether you're here legally, say, to go to school, which again, I think we need to clamp down on that. Trump is going exactly the wrong direction there. Once again, he's back with this. We need to bring in 500,000 Chinese college students. We have about half that already in the country. But this is a step in the right direction. The executive order, I don't think it's going to carry a whole lot of weight and get much to change. But in reality, again, this is something that we should be doing. Banks should be compliant. It is in their own self-interest, but they're more concerned with the political agenda and the mass invasion. So if they're harmed because of their poor decisions backing that up, I don't really care. That's their problem. They created it. And again, we have to do these mass deportations, and we do have to stop our financial institutions from lending money to illegal aliens that can just dip out of here and leave them stuck holding the bill, because then their other bank members or credit union members or whoever else end up picking up the tab. And if the tab's too great, then the American people will, because of course they'll get a bailout.
Yeah, and we are a wealthy country. However, there's only so much to go around. I was going to say,
Yeah.
by the way, I sent you that YouTube of Chris Farley being Newt Gingrich. I don't know. I mean, if you can play it, it'd be great. If you want to end the show, if not, that's fine too. But it's one of the most hilarious things I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't really have a good way to get it over right now. There's a piece of software I use to grab all the
Oh
videos that
yeah,
I haven't been able to transfer to this new laptop.
yep. Well, we have to keep speaking out. We have to keep working. And frankly, there are still so many problems in DC right now. I get tired of these people who are just almost mindless cheerleaders. If you bring up any
Yeah,
concerns, any critiques, they call you a black pillar and a closet lefty and all this stuff. And it gets tiring. Like, look, we're all glad that the Trump administration's in office, but they're not perfect. There are
yeah,
still deep state leftovers. There are rhinos. It's a mess, and one person can only do so much. Trump's done a lot, but we, the people, have to. In his first inauguration, he said, basically, I'm coming here to return the power to the people. That's what we've got to have. And we have to be very
yeah,
exacting and demanding in what we want, or we
yeah.
won't get it.
Yep, and it's long past time to kick the Somali pirates all out of our country and get us back on track there. House Oversight officially launches full-blown investigation into massive Ohio Medicaid fraud scheme allegedly tied to Somali networks. Once again, Rep. Brandon Gill, billions of dollars stolen from the taxpayers. This has to go. This has to stop. And we have to prosecute the people that are actually making it possible, like we keep saying, whether they're appointed, elected, officials, or just regular good old-fashioned state or federal government employees. I'm glad that they're locking up some of these people that were involved with the Leering Centers and the rest of the scams there. Here in Ohio, the number just keeps going up. I believe we're over $4 billion in fraud they've uncovered so far from the Somalis. And I've heard from a pretty good source, local reporter here that's been covering this, that she thinks that the total is going to climb to $7 to $8 billion once you get into all the Medicaid fraud, the Leering Centers, the COVID fraud, and all the other schemes that are going on in these almost exclusively the Somali community. We've got to just send these pirates back to where they came from. They don't benefit America in any way. A lot of them have been here 30 years and are still here, and a lot of them are still not U.S. citizens. They're just milking us dry, staying on the government dole. And let's not forget, over 70% of Somali families are still on Medicaid. They are a failure. They have failed as a path of becoming an American. You cannot come here and be dependent on the federal government and U.S. taxpayers forever. You gotta go. If you don't benefit America, then we don't need you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's common sense, and that's missing in our country right now. But
Yeah,
here's the thing: nobody can shrink back right now. Nobody can. But it's human nature to say, "Look, I got mine. I don't have a dog in the fight." Some I've seen people who've gotten settlements or payoffs for what they went through who have just they've won huge amounts of money and they just go away. Then they
yeah,
buy a big house, play pickleball or whatever, and spend their time. And it's just like, well, I got mine. Y'all have to fight, because if we don't have a country, if a color revolution succeeds in our country, I don't care how much money you have, it's going to be taken away from you.
yep. Yep, these people are already telling us what their plans are. If they retake power, we should be listening. But yeah, we got to solve this problem with the fraud, and it's got to be nationwide. We've got to just root this out. I mean, it could be. The original estimate was 1.6 trillion. I think it's probably going to exceed that, especially since in Los Angeles we've already covered over $250 billion worth of fraud there. And that's not even including all of it. That's not even including the homeless industrial complex that runs over there, or a lot of the other federal fraud. I don't think it includes the COVID fraud. I think it's just the Medicaid, Medicare, and autism, and basically money that went out for various health services and other things. So, I mean, our total just in California alone will likely exceed $300 billion, and that's just in one state. We're at, I think it's 27 or $28 billion in Minnesota, and that's a tiny state. Ohio, don't be surprised that $8 billion number is going to explode. We're over $2 billion in Maine, and this is just where we're looking. I know in Washington, there's huge amounts there too, Washington State, and they're refusing to do any kind of investigation. They're basically like, oh, well, it's just the cost of doing business. Well, that's unacceptable. We have to fix this problem. We have to retake our money. The fraudsters have to be punished, and they have to be sent back to Somalia. No and ifs or buts. And if they have kids that were born here in the U.S., we wouldn't want to separate families, so we'll send them to Somalia too. No problem there as far as I'm concerned. I have no sympathy for these people whatsoever. We can't have pirates here in our country. And again, they don't assimilate. They don't become part of America. They are here as the clan, just like they were back in their home country. They are not here to become Americans. They are here to defraud us, rip us off, and sow division. And we have to start treating the threat for what it is. But unfortunately, we have too many mayors and other people going the wrong direction, trying to empower illegal aliens, like our buddy over here, Karen, let the whole state burn down Bass. They're not hiding it anymore. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass comes out and says she's open to letting non-citizens vote in city elections. We need to explore it. Well, it's not just her. Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger signing executive order to keep ICE away from polling places. Well, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to prevent ICE from being there at polling locations? I thought no illegals were here. What happened? I thought this was something that happened infrequently and usually by accident. It was just somebody doesn't quite understand the rules here. It was just somebody accidentally signed them up to vote due to the motor voter laws when they went in to get a driver's license, which they also shouldn't be getting. But we get these excuses all the time, but then their actions betray the truth. They know these people are here, and they will vote for Democrats because that benefits them financially. That's who's been helping them line their pockets, putting them in hotels, kicking Americans out of homeless shelters and other things so they can help the illegals. We know the scheme, and we know exactly what's going on, and I don't understand how they're writing a state law anyway that would supersede a federal law and a federal department from protecting America's interests and making sure illegals are not voting in our elections here.
Well, this issue was part of the reason why Trump won. You know this. I went to the DNC in Chicago with Mike Lindell. I still have videos of former Biden black voters from the inner city whose main chief complaint was just what you said. They gave all the community resources and potential scholarships, everything to the illegals, and understandably they're very upset. And this is where I say, like, we need to bring other people in to the fold who have experienced this, because I sat in a room and I'm like, hey, these people are just like me. The only difference is our skin color. But yeah, we struggle to buy groceries. We struggle to overcome what was done to us. I've been, you wouldn't know this, but I've been a really big source of getting confidential information from Border Patrol and what's gone on there during the Biden administration to the media. I was a conduit, and partly because we had our coffee shop on the border. But
Sure.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This is a huge problem. We need to start ignoring the lefties and just stand our ground on this.
Well, I was going to close us out with a little more positive or humorous story, but I just saw an update. And again, I've got no sympathy for Jared Polis whatsoever. I think there's another dirtbag that they probably need to check his hard drive for CP. But apparently the Democrats in Colorado just censored him for commuting Tina Peters' her sentence. Sorry. Again, it just shows you who these people really are. They don't care about Tina Peters. They don't care about justice. They don't care about equality under the law or anything, because he's going to argue that she was guilty, which obviously she wasn't. As was pointed out months ago, you had someone else arrested and sentenced for similar crimes. I think what did they give her? Some community service and a fine. I can't remember. I think she got little to no jail time. Well, actually, I think it was 9 months. There's Tina Peters. They gave, what was it, 7 years, 9 years, 10 years? I can't remember now. But because Polis is going to let her out of jail, commute her sentence, I guess they just censored him. And again, it just shows you who these people are, that they have no souls.
Yeah. What a mess. What a mess.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for always speaking out, Michael.
Yeah. Well, Kelly, any words of wisdom you want to leave our audience with here before we wrap things up for the day?
Yeah, sure. You and I have talked about this. There are patriots out there like us who are constantly reporting the truth, constantly putting pressure on each and every administration um, we're fighting for the people. We're not government insiders. We're not,
Yeah.
these highly paid influencers. And my wisdom is just go out and find ways to support people like you. Find ways, go to realfreedomtalk.com, sign up for
Yeah.
a paid subscription, donate, do what you can, because it's absurd. The left has been funded all the way down to small podcasts, and we struggle. And
Yeah.
here's the thing, like some of the big influencers, they're nothing but echo chambers. And I know all or most of them. I also know people like you and others who are actually doing the heavy lifting and the research. So I guess that would be my word of wisdom. We need people like you and me, and we're a rare breed, and frankly, we're an endangered species right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of truth to that. Yeah, thank you for joining as always today, Kelly. And to our audience, thank you for being here. Please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to grow so we can bring more people the news the mainstream media doesn't.